I'm mysterious.
You know, I bought you 2 perfectly good face masks
from
Redbubble that had to be like posted. It was 40 quid for 4 face masks for all of us, and
I wasn't wearing
shipping and handling. And you could have used that for a prop, and yet you get a paper towel.
It was on the sofa.
I don't know.
We watched a film. There's the person called Jennifer, and she got a body.
This was a patron request.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we can't be too mean.
We can't be mean about the film. We can't.
Well, no, because we can be like, "Damn it, patron! Why did you done such a thing?"
No, patrons are uniformly wonderful.
Yeah.
You know, the worst thing we could think of to a patron was, well, you made us watch this film that we don't like. Oh, but you know, that's an experience.
More people should request document.
That's
no. One patron did. They requested Scream for Me, Sarajevo, and that was really good. I really liked that. Request more documentaries.
It's very warm. That's why there's car noises.
Yeah, we had to open the window. It's actually like, it was 76 degrees in Derry today, which usually you'd be like, oh wow, what a lovely late spring, early summer day. And that'd be true, but there's no air conditioning in Ireland because you need it like, 3 days out of the year? So we live in a flat, and usually, like I say, it's not, it's actually kind of cold.
We're the middle flat in a row, so we've got heat on all sides except for like the front and back.
I mean, I've got a wee fan, but obviously we didn't want to be shouting over the fan, because whoever you are, patron, would be like, oh,
because we have enough fans in the audience.
Hey.
But the worst thing that we could think about a patron, you know, was you made us watch this film that we absolutely hate, which is a type of hatred, and
unless you're like also a Nazi.
It's like the type of
like the one Nazi patron you have.
Okay. Which is a type of hatred that you already have for me many times over because I've made you watch a lot of terrible things.
Falcon Punch.
Anyway,
I like the idea that you should have just like the one Nazi patron. They're like, oh, nobody loves Nazis anymore. It's not fair because we actually have like lots of like German friends who are lovely and non-Nazis. So, and stereotypically, like more Nazis these days are like bound to have like good old boy redneck accents. So, I don't know where I'm going with this. I was drinking Jack Daniels because
I would hope that any Nazis or neo-Nazis who watch my videos would very quickly realize that I'm not into that. And so they would
but this
stop.
is why it's the one who's like in denial. It's kind of like, it's like their guilty habit. They're not really into it, but they think it makes them cool.
Watch my videos and say, may I watch evangelical films?
Like the way that like there's like, you know, the one kid that really doesn't want to smoke cigarettes, but like thinks it makes them look cool. So like, I love it. But you're in high school.
And then they're addicted.
And also, forgive the hat. It's quarantine hair. I bought a pair of clippers and it went alright, but I haven't done it again since.
My quarantine hair is just getting longer and longer and longer.
Look, could you like the...
I have a beard.
That's disgusting. Could you like the Rapunzel thing soon? That's what you should do. You should like braid it into a French braid that goes like all the way along the back, right? And then you can get like, and you could just probably order one off the internet, like a plastic one, like a... You
shall not pass!
No, like a little like plastic spiked mace hair tie. You can look like a Viking. And if you ever leave the flat, just go running up and down Strand Road like a Viking. So anyway, just respond.
Yes.
I had a memory of I think I saw a trailer of this back in the day, and I think that I thought from the trailer that it was something different, because we looked at the IMDb, and I'm like, oh, Megan Fox is in this. And Hagen was like, yeah. And I was like, I don't really know what she looks like. I just know she was really famous and sexy and stuff.
Literally, the only things I knew about this, because I'd heard of it, was Megan Fox is starring in it, and it's a horror.
And it had the kind of like prescient, like, very self-aware script. And I was scrolling through the IMDb like, aha! I said, aha! And she was like, what? I was like, it has the stench of Diablo Cody all over it, and it does.
My feelings were, well, to begin with, it was, hey, this is like a not very good Lucky McKee film. If you're not familiar with Lucky McKee, he did Sick Girl, which was an episode of Masters of Horror, and he did the fantastic movie May, about the weird girl who has no friends, and so she wants to create a perfect friend by looking at all the people around her, choosing their best bits, killing them, taking the bit, and then stitching together a friend. Which inexplicably comes to life. Just like
in Dragon Age 2. Spoilers.
Which inexplicably comes to life at the end.
That's good.
Possibly.
Yes.
It's a really good film.
Like Weird Science, kind of. Except it's
very weird.
Disturbing. Yeah.
But then
there was even a point when I was like going through the IMDb, I'm like, oh, this has been compared to Ginger Snaps. Oh, right. And then like 20 minutes later, you know what? This really reminds me of Ginger Snaps. And I was like,
I missed you saying that, and I was possibly on autopilot.
Probably.
I mean, I was watching Jennifer's Body. I can't be paying attention to everything.
You're watching Jennifer's Body. Yeah, apparently she like starved herself down to 79 pounds. Megan Fox did. Yeah. J.K. Simmons was in it, and he's always a joy when you see him pop up. It's like a little ray of sunshine.
J.K. Simmons being all like, well, I'm very subdued in this role, and I'm putting a very quiet voice for some reason.
But sometimes he is, though. I mean, he's an actor.
I've never seen him do that kind of thing before. He's usually very loud.
And Chris Pratt was in it for like a hot second. We thought he'd like... Because he's like third build. I think they were billed by appearance. So we thought, oh, he'll have a major part. He was...
Yeah, it looked like his... at the start, it looked like you were setting him up as an important supporting character, and then he's like,
I'm a cop. And we're like...
He got mentioned once after that.
Yeah.
That was it. But the Ginger Snaps comparisons are really, really apt, because like, wow. I mean, lots of them. Although Ginger Snaps is far better.
That was alright. I don't know, like, okay, so I don't mean to be, like, obnoxious about it, but, like, back in the day, Entertainment Weekly, which still is a magazine, Stephen King would do a column every other week, and it was some other guy, I can't remember his name, but the film critic, he was good, A guy
called Richard Bachman?
No, it was an actual person, like, in real life. It wasn't just Stephen King twice. But so then it became, he only had it once every 4 weeks, and they gave Diablo Cody like one of the weeks, and I'm sure she's probably a super nice person in real life, but just like you know how boomers are, like whenever they think about something that's kind of after 1979 and like millennials, that's how I feel. I become a boomer and I'm like, Diablo Cody. And I'm like, oh, everything is such a deep cut. Every line is, like, so self-awarely witty.
I saw Juno years ago and was like, well, that exists.
I don't know. It's just, like, you just ever, like, have, like, someone's writing just sets you... I guess, is there no, like, actor or actress or director that you just can't stand? And there's no real good reason.
Oh, no.
You just don't, like...
One springs to mind... And this is an actor. It's Kyle MacLachlan.
Who does he be?
He was one of the stars of Twin Peaks. He played Paul Atreides in the Dune movie in the 80s. He was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. a bunch of times. He's in a lot of things. Like, nothing against him. I do not like him as an actor.
Well, there you go. Like it's how it's like, BoJack Horseman and Rick and Morty. I'm sure they're really funny and really worthwhile. And I know so many people whose opinions I really respect, who love those shows, but I just don't find it funny. And I'm sure it's me.
It's partially the fandom, too.
Well, no, but even before that. Like, before it was a thing, when, I was, over at Collins, and he was like, oh, we're gonna watch Rick and Morty. I'm like, alright, I've heard about this show. We watched, like, 2 episodes, and I'm like, uh-huh. Same thing with BoJack Horseman. Like, I watched with him and Neil, like, one episode, I was like, it's not funny. And I completely acknowledge, it's me. So, my annoyance with Diablo Cody style is probably 100% me, but... I mean, I ain't saying, I'm just saying.
My feeling is it was like attempting to be a very cute and self-aware sort of retreading of Ginger Snaps. I mean, there's so many parallels to it that it was distracting.
Maybe that was like a main influence.
I have no idea. And it wasn't a massive hit, but it did get 2 sequels. But so neither of us were very impressed with Jennifer's Body. It's ironic considering most people in the film were.
I mean, It had that one Kate Mel Heidke song, "Kiss with a Fist," which I immediately recognized because Nash, a big fan of hers, and played all her stuff on RDA. So I was like, I recognize that song from the aughts.
And I was like, well, that's a soundtrack that doesn't really do anything for me.
And then, like, I don't know. Here's the thing. Here's where I kind of feel bad, is because I actually would have thought it would be a really clever twist if it just turned out that the main character was psychotic. Because there were all these little places, like, when she goes down to answer the door, at the beginning there's a crucifix. Mm-hmm. And her mom's like, oh, like I had a nightmare that somebody was crucifying you just like JC. So, like, you can make the establishment that she already had the kind of, like, the roots of a religious mania. And so she describes the singer of this band who's, like, sacrifices Jennifer, spoilers, to Satan. Describes him as like thin and twisted, like a tree she saw once, like a dead tree. And then she's panting, and then you flash to her as a child looking up the tree and panting. And I'm like, I could see that being a very upsetting, very kind of salient moment for a child. And when I did that qualitative study on people describing their first episode Psychosis, like, a lot of times the language that they would use would be, oh, this was like a thing that I remember from being a child, a thing that I saw in a dream, and now. So I was like, if that's where this is going, that would be completely brilliant. If they were just sowing very gentle seeds of like aberrant salience, disassociation, all the main, domains of psychosis, and then it wasn't. It was actually a demon, and I was like,
this sort of horror film never does things absolutely brilliant. Horror as a genre,
some things are brilliant. Like The Orphanage, that was fucked up and brilliant.
Horror as a genre, though.
I still haven't gotten over that.
Horror as a genre, though, because it is a genre that is very easy to succeed at. Because, success in horror is generally gore, disgust, horror, that kind of things.
Yeah.
So most people don't bother trying to go beyond that. And are the ones who try to go beyond that, very few succeed. That's why horror as a genre it's easy to do well at. It's very hard to do very, very well. If that makes sense.
But see, the thing is, though, that trope is one of the oldest ones in horror, because, like, that was, Shadow over Innsmouth, Lovecraft story. That's the thing. Your man's in an asylum.
Mm-hmm.
It just turns out that he actually is becoming a fish person.
So, a better comparison would be The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
I never saw that. I just remember we watched a YouTube movie about how, like, incredibly, like, important it was in the history of cinema, but I've never actually seen it.
In the, basically, the twist is that the character is in an insane asylum, and everything's sort of, I don't want to spoil it, but everything's kind of inverted from what you've seen in the film.
Oh, is it not like, that movie based on the Robert Cormier book, The Cheese Stands Alone? Or no, I Am the Cheese. It was a book on the set. Robert Cormier wrote some very interesting stuff, but like the spoilers for a book from the 70s. But they made a film of it a while, like I think sometime in the late 70s, early 80s. That basically, like, the book is about this teenager whose parents have gone missing, and he goes on this cross country like bike trip on his bicycle, looking for his parents. But it's interspersed with these like interviews and like fact files. And I didn't realize this until I was an adult and read the wiki, because I read it, so I was 12, I totally didn't get it. It's basically what you realize is that as a few years previous, I think he's supposed to be like 13 or 14. When he was a kid, his parents were in the witness protection program, and they were it's implied that they were burned by either the government or another government's agents, and he witnessed it and was traumatized. And so he's actually in a facility because whichever government is holding him is not sure how much information he's retained about it. And so basically his journey, like that he's like, telling this from first person throughout the story, is just basically a day of him walking with his bike around the gardens of this facility that he's at. And the book kind of implies that the last interview, the psychologist has gotten everything that they could from him, and his termination order is being given. He's no longer useful. But that's one of those ones that, like, it turns out he was in an insane asylum all the time, but, like, always the end of it confused me because I was 12 when I read it.
That's a little bit like The Prisoner, the British TV show from the 60s. But there's another film set in the same asylum where you got people are in the asylum and they're being murdered one by one. But then the twist is, it turns out that they're all alternate dissociative personalities, and so the treatment is they're killing the personalities in order to leave only the original one to try and cure the person. Oh,
I thought it would be something like spoilers. It was just them each person was getting released.
So that would be another fun twist, but
like, oh no, I found out they're being murdered. Actually, no, they're well and they're being.
I can't even remember the name of that film. There was someone unusually famous in it, like John Cusack or someone, or Ethan Hawke, or there's someone at that sort of fame level in it.
See, the thing is, like, I don't like mental illness played as supernatural, which is why, like, this would be the kind of thing that I'd be okay with, because it would turn out that, like, the supernatural thing didn't actually happen, but she had constructed these delusions around specific fixed ideas.
Yeah.
The
one thing I noticed, which was rather funny about the film, you got this scene set in an old deceased swimming pool, and it looks from certain angles, it looks almost identical to the flooded greenhouse in Batman Arkham Asylum.
You even said that you're like, I played this level.
Yeah, you know, one where it's all electrocuted and you got to use the remote. Is it the remote batarang in order to knock over the thing to turn off the power?
You know, write the show,
so you can go off and do stuff for Poison Ivy. It was quite distracting. I mean, it wasn't even a greenhouse in this.
It was actually, we thought it was filmed in California. It was filmed in British Columbia.
Not even British California.
Well, I mean, see, because parts of California will be quite dry, but then other parts will be quite wet, so... You know.
Yeah, the trees did look sort of like what I think Northern California ones look like, because...
You know what that forest reminded me of?
Not thin, not like that, but they were tall, straight, and...
Not like the ones here that are like bent and crooked from the wind.
Yeah, our ones all look like...
Pathetic forest.
You know, we went in a local forest, which is actually literally thousands of years old, and you were like, it looks like a fairy tale forest!
It really did. There's a quarry there, and it's really great because there's a sign that says "Danger, Quarry Face," but like someone had defaced it so it made it look like "Danger, Queer Face," and I thought that was pretty funny.
There's some old mining equipment in that quarry. It hasn't been used since like the 1910s or 20s, but there's just some at the bottom.
They better haul that out of there. Someone's gonna health and safety themselves.
Well, it's at the bottom, and it's way too heavy, and it's half buried, so you can't get it out. But
that's a good point.
You know, for kids growing up in the area, going down there, it's like,
how did you not die of tetanus?
Well, it's got no moving parts. It's just like a big piece of like, you know, metal that's been there.
See, in America, we just played in construction sites, so...
We played in a quarry.
We did. I almost fell down a hole. But, yeah. But so Jennifer's bought it. No, so, I mean, it felt very 90s, but even though it wasn't.
Yeah.
And that kind of weirded me out, because it was written in 2007, but it felt like it was written to be a period piece, to be like maybe 99 or 2001 or 2.
So one thing you've noticed that with the rise of mobile phones and then all the apps and stuff, that horror films have had to adapt. They had to evolve because, you know, the obvious thing when you got a horror situation, got to call someone, got a mobile phone. That's why nowadays you've got a lot of either out and out period pieces. You got ones which are subtle period pieces, as in. Ones that may be set in the past but they never draw attention to it, like one of the last Final Destinations, or one that acts as though it's the past but it's not technically, so it's a little bit temporally weird.
Yeah, but see, you could just work around that so easily. You'd be like, oh, there's the terrible thing, and they're like, oh my god, what's going on? Here, FaceTime, show me. And then you're like, look, and like the creature's like, rah, they're like, ha, very funny, there's nothing there. You know, like...
But you can also phone the police and stuff, and so...
Yeah, and then the police come, and they're like, what? And they're like... The supernatural creature, they're like, you know, wasting police time is a criminal offense.
That didn't happen in Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Yeah, because that was made in the before times.
Yeah, they kept phoning John Vernon. But anyway, horror films had to deal with this. And so, in this one, it felt as though it was one of those temporally weird, slightly anachronistic, like mobile phones existed, but they were acting as though they didn't.
Oh no, because she like couldn't get reception, which was very 90s.
That's another thing they horror films do. Randomly, we can't get reception just when the serial killer's around. Oh no!
Well, but here's the thing, though. Those were like flip phones. Those were like Razor flip phones. Actually, they looked like the one that was like my first phone. I got in 2001, and it was the big Nokia brick. And I had that for many years. And my second one was a Motorola, and it was a silver Motorola flip that just had like the digital display that all displayed was like the incoming number and like the time. Mm-hmm. And when that one finally died, that's when I got my first proto smartphone. Because it was when it had a little screen like this big, and it wasn't like, you know, kind of in color, but it had like a full QWERTY keyboard on it. And so I got that in, I want to say 08. So technically, if she wrote this in 07, yeah, I could see like it would, like if they were using Razor flip phones.
It was one of those weird times where when she wrote it and the technology moved on by the time it was released, and then nowadays it's gone even further, so it seems even weirder. It's like if you look at Ghostbusters 1 and 2, you got the obvious difference between the two is that 2 has been made with the real Ghostbusters more in mind. Yeah. Because, you know, that's why you got Slimer being nice, and you got the characters are all sort of like, you know, a little bit more rounded. Not rounded, less edgy. But the other change is no one's smoking. Everyone smokes in Ghostbusters 1.
Oh yeah, because that was after the thing.
And no one smokes in Ghostbusters 2. And it's not just because they're trying to make it more kid-friendly. It's also because culture appreciably changed between 85 and 89.
But I was just thinking, though, Like, I mean, when Singular updated their mobile network, like, this was mid-aughts, that was a huge deal. Because, like, it used to be a thing. Not getting reception used to be a thing before we had, like, literally, like, 3G, 4G, 5G coverage everywhere.
And
so that is pretty reliable, pretty realistic. Being inside a building, where I lived in Upper Darby, and I had the Motorola flip phone, and I was with Singular, who had been I signed with Singular in 2001. They were bought out by AT&T, or actually no, they bought AT&T. It's complicated. Google it. But so there were certain parts of my house that I did not get reception in. Like I got the best reception. I had like this like you come in the front door and there's a little kind of like sunroom area. There was a closet here. In the corner, pressed up against the window, was where I got the best reception in the house. So I have many conversations with you, or that, and on the third stair on the way upstairs. So, like, I can completely buy that I'm in a building and I can't get reception.
Though the problems mentioned about mobile phones, which weren't quite so bad there, they're getting worse and worse as mobile phone technology gets better.
Yeah, but then if you're a clever, script writer, okay, I used to say this when I was a storyteller in LARP, and this especially when I was in the cam, and, like, I would, be dealing with players from all over the country who would sometimes come to Game of the Month or conventions and stuff, and be like, hey, I need to let you know I'm playing a super powerful legacy character, and I have this game-breaking, plot-breaking power. Do you want me to not use it? As was my friend Jed that asked me this, and I finally said to him, look, if my plot is so bad that it can be thwarted by one power, that's even, like, it's an in-game power, it's not even anything custom, I'm not a very good storyteller. And he was like, I never thought of it that way. And I'm like, thanks for letting me know, because now I can, I can plan for that.
Yeah, but a lot of writers are, frankly, lazy, and horror is not a well-regarded genre.
Well,
I'm not talking about this film in particular, just as a whole, horror is basically seen as the lowest common denominator, so someone is more likely to phone it in.
Yeah.
Rather than actually sit out, spend a lot of time trying to work out how to make this work.
But I feel like that's kind of too bad, because remember we saw Necromentia?
Mm-hmm.
You should, it was
Gorehounds.
Yeah, Gorehounds.
We did a review.
Look at it, it's on her YouTube somewhere. Nice guy, Scottish guy. But so we had to watch it for notes, and she was like, "Oh, this is super low budget," and I was like, "Ugh."
"Oh yeah, Necromancer."
It's like vaguely Cthulhu, and I was like, "Ugh." And it was really good. Like what they did with a low budget was incredible, and I felt like that was really well written.
It's basically the redneck Hellraiser, and it
on a shoestring budget, but it really works.
And it's better than most of the Hellraiser sequels made in the last, well, I'm not even sure how long, but since 5.
Yeah, like, I mean, I feel like, just because it's like ultra low budget doesn't mean you don't have to try.
I know, but some do try, but as a matter of course, a lot of people don't.
Well, then why they scream understand?
Well, they want to use their effort on something else.
I don't know, I'm just saying.
Anyway, Jennifer's Body.
This is what people pay for.
I felt a little bit shortchanged that fucking band, the lead singer of whom seemed to be dressed like a newsboy, that we didn't get to see them get killed very much. It was like all this, she goes off to kill them, and then you get all these bits where they're all like, we're partying and being jackasses.
Well, they might have only had so long, because it looks like those parts were shot in a hotel. They might have only had so long to shoot the hotel.
Yeah, but they wasted it all on footage of them being twats, and then they didn't give us very much time of them being killed. I mean, they were twats the entire film. They kept turning up every so often being twats. They kept getting mentioned for being twats. People were defending them even though they were twats. And then we saw them being
just
twats.
Like the real musical industry. Or music industry.
And then we saw them at the end being twats, entitled Rockstar Twats. It's like, and then we didn't get to see them die. And it's like, short change.
You can write Jennifer's Body fanfic about it.
I'm not sure fan really applies.
I want to see if that's a thing. You keep talking.
I mean,
entertain the peoples.
The film's fine. I probably would have enjoyed it more if I wasn't, intrinsically in love with ginger snaps, which, I am, because it's very weird. In the early 20th century, early 2000s. There's
a whole entire section of Archive of Our Own.
Oh no, it's probably all slash
83
fiction.
works.
It's all probably slash fiction to Jennifer.
I don't think it counts as slash fiction. Basically, like, that was a thing. There was not subtext. That was lesbians.
Yeah,
bisexuality.
You can tell what that
was mostly about. Because they're both into guys as well, so it's bisexuality.
Anyway,
I'm sorry, 84.
I have forgotten what I was saying about.
You were saying about the twats didn't get twatted on film, and you wanted them to be twatted.
No, I moved past it. I was working. I was going into something else. Oh yes, so intrinsically in love with ginger snaps. Now, early 2000s, I don't know what the fuck was going on in Canada at the time, but you guys created 3 of the best werewolf films, 3 of the top, maybe not top 5. I would say probably top 5, but most people wouldn't agree. Definitely top 10 werewolf movies within about 3 or 4 years. I mean, Ginger Snaps Back, Ginger Snaps 3 is terrible. Otherwise known as Ginger Snaps Ravenous, because it's basically trying to be ravenous and it's not doing it very well. And then the third one, The Wolf Girl, which is the best offbeat werewolf movie. It's like, Canada in the early 2000s, what the fuck were you doing?
I need to tell you several things.
Oh no.
Okay, one of them is called The Human Condition. It's a crossover between Jennifer's Body and Ready or Not, 2019. I'm guessing that's a BBC show. A vampire, a werewolf, and a ghost buy a house together and try to blend in with the rest of their boring normal neighbors. And then there's one called Zane's Body, which is a crossover between the band One Direction and Jennifer's Body. This is fantastic.
Okay.
Oh my god. Like, there's a Saw crossover. Okay, that one actually makes sense. And I'm not disparaging fan fiction, by the way. People, like, try really hard. Except for your man, the white supremacist, the Brony. He's probably going to get done for what he's done.
I can't
remember. A crossover with a Gotham TV show.
At one point, I found completely randomly there was there was a fan fiction Wikipedia or something, and they had this huge thing discussing Cardassian genitals and fan fictions in the context of Dr. Bashir and Garrick / fiction, and because they were all these conflicting sort of things showing what Cardassian genitals are like and how like human ones they are, or how like reptilian ones they are. And I was like, Hagen bless you, internet.
Lonely Trekkers. Would be that serious. We're 26. When is this one cut off? At 35 or
36 technically.
Okay. But yeah, so
this is the old camera. I couldn't be bothered finding the new one.
So you guys should request more documentaries, and I'll be so happy.
I'll make me very happy.
Be like, I want to know what you think about this weird niche documentary.
But this same patron requested for their Hagen reviews, Freddy vs. Jason, which I'm looking forward to because that film fucking rocks.
Is that the one that came out a few years ago?
A few as in 10, 15 years?
I don't know. Now that I'm old, now that I'm a boomer, like, everything seems like you know, those things would be like, this came out 25 years ago. How old? Like, you know, or like you know, Britney Spears this hit is old enough to vote, and I'm like, oh Christ, because like things just seem like they happened like a few years ago, and you're like, what? That happened in 2005, and I'm like, ugh.
If I remember correctly, this is the last film that Robert Englund played Freddy Krueger. So it's the 8th film with him as Freddy Krueger.
Didn't he go to space at some point?
Freddy Krueger didn't.
Oh, okay.
Jason Voorhees did.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking.
Pinhead did. Jason Voorhees. The Leprechaun did.
Can there be demons in space?
Clearly,
I feel like those two things are antithetical.
Hellraiser 4 exists.
Oh, what was that? What was the one we saw with the spaceship went faster than light and went to hell?
Event Horizon.
Yeah, there was demons in that.
In Hellraiser 4, the idea was it was 3 stories in 3 different time periods. The first one was about the creation of the puzzle box. The second was like a building above the puzzle box, and the third, no, that wasn't. I forget what the middle one was. And the third story was in space. And the point was you had descendants of the guy who created the original sort of puzzle box trying to defeat Pinhead. So he's created this big space station where Pinhead gets summoned. And
Who funded this?
I don't know, space people. It gets turned, the space station turns into a giant puzzle box in order to trap him there forever.
In space?
Yes.
But he's a demon. He can just go back to...
He's a Cenobite. He's not a demon.
Oh, Christ.
He was born human.
Oh, well.
You discover that...
Is he human on his mother's side?
You discover that in Hellraiser 3. He was a World War I British Army officer.
I thought he would have been older than that.
No. But anyway, Bloodlines is terrible. The director took his name off it. It's an Alan Smithee film.
Oh. Well.
Although, my Hellraiser film idea, which is set in space, and it's fucking awesome, and I'll tell you what it is. Basically, it's the plot of Aliens, but with Hellraiser, where you got this guy goes to a remote colony and he opens up the lament configuration, and you know all the Cenobites come out and all the chains and shit, and they kill everyone on the planet, and turning the colony into a colony of hell, and so military have to come in to try and
just like in Doom.
Yeah, a little bit. I never thought of the comparison
there.
I never thought of that comparison, but you know, military come in and they have to fight the Cenobites with high-tech weaponry. That is the best Hellraiser sequel ever.
I just feel like there's too much Clive Barker lore for me to... I'm like, alright.
Well, he hasn't done anything to do with Hellraiser
I think I watched...
3.
Did we not watch one of the Hellraiser movies? I think I tried to watch one of them.
Can't remember.
Because you suggested it. This was like when I still lived in the States.
But the Clive Barker hasn't had anything to do with the Hellraiser films since the third one. He went back and he wrote a new novel for it, but it was unconnected to the films.
Yeah, I remember when that came out in hardcover. It didn't sell a lot of decents, but probably because it was in hardcover.
But you know who else has been to space? The Leprechaun.
Yeah, no, you told me about that.
It's pretty weird. He was in space in like number 3 or 4, and then the next one was, you know, Leprechaun in the Hood. So they went back in time and they just ignored the space one. But the space one was directed by Brian Trenchard Smith.
Oh, hey, your man.
Yeah, who did Turkey Shoot.
Did he not? Who did the sequel for Turkey Shoot?
Not him.
Not sequel. It was not sequel. The remake. Yeah.
Some other guy.
So it was not very good.
But Smith also did The Man from Hong Kong.
Oh yeah. Your favorite Australian friend.
Brian Trenchard Smith. He's actually English.
Yeah, but did he not do all those Aussie movies?
Oh yeah, he's one of the kings of Ausploitation, but I believe he's English.
They all are, aren't they? In the end. But yeah, so Jennifer's Body was alright.
Jennifer's Body in space.
Ew.
Could totally do like a sequel. The Psychosis got frozen somehow and ended up in space.
It's like Static-Ling that you know, the Rocko's Modern Life special, because they've been up in like orbit since the 90s. That was really cute. I really enjoyed that.
We have to watch Jason X at some point. It's so good. There's a bit where they have to distract Jason, but they have a holodeck, so they create a replica.
Oh my God.
They create a replica of a 1980s sort of camp thing with these camp counselors who are just, you know, wanting to, you know, being like, hey, Mr. Man with a like a machete, do you want to have sex with us or do drugs or drink a lot of alcohol? And then the next time we cut back to it, he's got one of them in like a sleeping bag and he's beating the other to death with them. It's so good.
Anyway. Reminds me of what the Final Girl.
Yeah, it's a little bit like Final Girl sort of stretched the idea to make it into.
But see, that was good because it was funny. Yeah. Like the point is, this is a horror comedy, and I'm like, okay, I can get down with that. Like if you make it clear, like we don't take ourselves seriously, you know, we're gonna call like a Cabin in the Woods. I really enjoyed Cabin in the Woods. I
had one major problem with Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah, I know.
And that's
they spoiled it too early.
Yeah, they spoiled. They should have left the reveal of what exactly was going on until way later on.
Although a lot of people use that gif, the evil has been destroyed. But we're at 32 minutes, and I don't want it to cut off.
Anyway, but Jason X is definitely not meant to be taken seriously. Apart from the fact that it's a late-stage Friday the 13th movie, it starts off in the modern day, and this is the film right after Jason got blown up and started possessing people, and they all became Jason. So he's back being Jason again. He gets captured by David Cronenberg, the film director, and then he gets frozen, and then the Earth gets destroyed, and then centuries later, a bunch of teenagers find him on Earth. The film is not meant to be taken seriously, and it's so good because of it.
Patron, I hope that this was all that you dreamed of and more.
Yeah, it did go kind of in weird tangents.
But that's what people want, though. Like, you know, they wouldn't request stuff if they didn't. We're like, I wonder what's gonna happen now.
Well, that is true.
I think that's not bad.
Could be.
We've got the window open. There's like street sounds coming up. It's summer. People are don't even know if they're locked down anymore. We still are, so because we're not idiots. But we'll see you guys next time. Stay safe. Don't get the COVIDs. Don't get dead. What are you doing? What is the... Oh.